Hello and welcome to another Automazing video. Today we're at the IMSA 6 Hours of the Glen. We have been invited by LexusRacingUSA. Big shout out to them. In this video we have a series of interviews in the pits. We've been granted access to the pits by LexusRacingUSA. Hope you enjoy this video. Okay, so we're here with the Lexus GTD drivers. Ben, this is your first season with Lexus. You were at McLaren before. How would you compare really driving style needed between the mid-engine McLaren's front-engine Lexus?
So the driving style is very different, as you pointed out straight away. You know, the position of the engine and the weight distributions of the car are a lot different. So that requires in the Lexus a much smoother driving style, because you've got a lot of weight over the front axle, making it a bit more powerful, especially when you're on the brakes. So it's taken me a little bit of time, but I'm feeling good in the car now. You know, at this stage of the year, and really enjoying my time with Lexus.
Okay. So, Richard. So here we have Richard, fresh off of the Le Mans 24 Hours. How would you compare Watkins Glen to Le Mans?
It's a lot different track. Le Mans, a lot of straightaways, chicanes, and the car's very different. Tires different, and I was in a Ferrari there, so much like Ben said about the McLaren, it's the driving style is quite different. And you know, there's no ABS, so it's just a different challenge altogether. We're just a fast-flowing track, driving a very different car. It's front engine, so there's a lot different about the two, and challenging in their own way.
Okay. Kyle.
Yes.
So you're switching between IndyCar, GTD. Is it really that difficult to switch between those two? To get adjusted?
It's honestly not, because. Shut up, Richard. It's honestly not, because they're so vastly different. The IndyCar is super high downforce, high power, no ABS, no traction control, and you jump into this and it's a lot more like a road car than an open wheel car, right? So it's because they're vastly different. It makes it a pretty easy transition.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so here we have Bozy here. You work on number 14 Lexus, right?
Yep. I'm a race mechanic and pit crew member on the number 14 Lexus RCF GT3. I work on the car during the race weekend, make adjustments, and then during the race, I'm a tire carrier, tire setter, air jack handler. So I stab the car to raise it up. I run with the tires, carry them, and set them, and then the tire changers change it with the wheel gun.
Okay. So we know GTD is quite dissimilar to the road cars. Are there any major similarities between GT3 or GTD and a road-going RCF?
So the production road-going RCF is actually very similar to this car in a lot of ways. So the way these cars get built is the center section of the car starts out as the production car. So all this bodywork here and all the stuff in here is from the production car. And basically what happens is they take the production car and then start modifying it. So it retains a lot of the center section and the production engine, and then a lot of custom bodywork is built up on the outside. But the V8 engine in the race car is actually the same V8 engine that you find in the production Lexus RCF, but what happens to this is it's modified, bored out a little bit. The production engine is a 5-liter V8, this is a 5.4-liter V8. And then there are a lot of other pieces from the production car that end up on the race car. So like the grill on the front is directly from the production car. The paddles on the back of the steering wheel here that the drivers change gears with, those are directly from the production RCF. So it's the same paddles that they use on the street car that you'll find on the Lexus display over here are the same ones you'll see here. And there are a lot of other components. Even the power steering in this car is from production Lexus. So it's the same thing you find on a production car you can find in here in a lot of places. Of course, there are some customizations because it is a race car. So we have the sequential transaxle, custom suspension and brakes and stuff like that. But there are definitely a lot of similarities on here.
Okay, so also with race cars, we know that with intervals, especially with the endurance cars, manufacturers try to make them as long as possible, the intervals for rebuilds.
Sure.
So how long do these components such as engine, suspension, how long do they last before rebuilds?
They actually last quite a long time, and unfortunately without looking at all the charts right now I couldn't give you exact numbers, but most of the components are set to last thousands of kilometers, if not tens of thousands of kilometers, depending on which component it is. Everything gets checked and serviced on a regular basis, but everything has a fairly long mileage and lifetime that it can last. So for most cars, and especially in the GT3 class, the goal is to try to use components for the entire season, and then change things like engines and transaxles every few races, but usually that's mostly precautionary, where you pull one out and then get it freshened up and then swap them back out again. So it's, but everything lasts quite a long time, and that's the kind of the cool thing, is being able to kind of test all this stuff out on the race car and use production car components that you can see how things are durable and be able to use them for a long time, like those paddles on the steering wheel, which we use the same steering wheel for an entire 24-hour race, and that's a lot of clicks for upshifts and downshifts, but that's the kind of the durability of the production car components being put to use for something like that, and the ability for us to use the same steering wheel for basically the whole year.
Okay, one more question. So components such as brakes, perhaps sort of interior bits, how difficult would it be to get something like that interchangeable onto a normal RCF?
Well, the brakes for us would be a little bit of effort, mostly because we do the single lug here, and the production car is 5 lug, but also our brakes here are set up for quick changes. So during the long endurance races like the Rolex 24-hour, we'll actually change brakes in the middle of the race, where we'll pull the rotors out and the pads and put new ones in. And that's made so we can do it as quickly as possible. Our goal is typically to get that done in 70 to 80 seconds, where we swap the complete front brakes. So that's why these are very different than what you find on a production car, because on a production car, the rotor goes through the lug studs, the 5 studs. Here, there's actually a toothed ring, and it's basically just compressed between the wheel and the hub. So that way, once you pull the wheel off, you can actually twist the rotor and just pull it out. That's for those quick changes. So it'd be a little complex to do that, because you basically need this whole corner of the suspension to match everything.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Bozy.
I'm one of the members of the PFAFF Motorsports team.
Okay. I know with GT department at Porsche, it's quite well known that the spec of this engine is quite similar to the GT3 RS road car.
That's correct.
So are there any sort of differences between them?
Yeah, let's take a walk around and we'll show you. The major difference that you'll see with this GT3R versus a GT3 RS street car is just that the engine sits lower and a little bit further forward than it does in the street car. From an architectural perspective, it's the same. It's a 4-liter direct injection, flat 6. Red line is like at 9,000 RPM. The difference with this is that all of the internal stuff is designed to run for 24 hours non-stop. So this car, did the 24 hours of Daytona this year, won its class, and the only thing we had to do during the whole 24-hour race was put a liter of oil in. So that is not something that a GT3 RS street car would be able to do, is go 24 hours without being serviced. But all of the internal components of the engine are, a lot stronger and able to withstand that kind of abuse.
Okay. So then out here on Watkins Glen,
yes,
there are a lot of track day enthusiasts with GT3s and RSs. So how will we see performance difference lap time wise between this and a GT3 on slicks?
I'm the wrong guy to ask about that, because I'm, I guess, not close enough to all of the data. The major difference with this is not just slicks, but a lot more footprint than even a GT3 RS street car on slicks, but significantly more aero, not just on the rear wing, but at the front, which we can show you. As well as, obviously, we have 2 Porsche factory drivers. The car actually, from a weight perspective, is maybe about 200 pounds lighter than a GT3 RS, so it's not crazy lighter, because it's got all of the safety equipment built into it. But yeah, there would be a significant difference because of primarily the downforce and the tire footprint. The other thing too is that the transmission in this is not the same. So a GT3 RS street car will have a PDK. This is actually a single clutch 6-speed. So, actually under racing conditions, this is going to be faster as well.
So this is the gearbox. It's it's a sequential or with dog box, or is it just an automated manual with a single clutch?
It is a automated manual.
Okay. Yeah. One more question.
So it's actually the clutches are operated. The clutch is operated by paddles as well. So they'll only use the clutch when they get going. But these are the shift paddles and these are the clutch paddles.
Okay. One more question. If we go back to the front here.
Sure.
I noticed that the air duct openings here are a lot smaller than on a road car RS.
Yes.
So I'm assuming the radiators on the side of the road car.
The road car actually, I believe, has 3 radiators. A little one in the middle and 2 on the sides. These are actually brake cooling.
Okay.
So the radiator on this car on this car actually doesn't, because on the street car you've got a trunk, right? So the radiator sits here, here, here. Here you've got a massive radiator that's kind of tilted back in the trunk a bit. So not only is this a larger cooling surface, but this also, due to how air kind of flows through it and over, also helps to generate additional downforce.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
Yep. And that was the PFAFF Porsche team here at Watkins Glen IMSA race. So here we are at Turner BMW. We have Robby here, one of the drivers for Turner. And I just have a few questions about the car.
Sure.
So the front grills have been quite distinctive. BMW has claimed that it's for cooling reasons on the road cars. Does that carry over to the GT3 car?
Yeah, absolutely. As you can see, there's big openings, and they serve a few purposes. The bottom ones are all for cooling, so we have radiators there that basically cool the car, cool the intercoolers, different things like that. And then the upper ones contribute a little bit to downforce. You can see these vents that vent the hood. Essentially what that does is vent unwanted air from the bottom of the car. So we make downforce from our splitter and floor, wing, all that kind of stuff, but air under the car basically creates lift. So that evacuates essentially the air from the bottom of the car and creates more downforce.
Okay, and so this is the first year. Obviously the BMW teams have been racing with the M4 GT3.
Yep.
Before that, you guys were racing with the M6 GT3. So have there really been any noticeable benefits to running the M4 over the M6?
Yeah, I would say for sure, the M6 was a great car for us. We won a lot of races and had a lot of success, but it was 6 years old at this point. So the deficiencies were becoming more and more apparent and hurting us in races. So basically, this car is a new, better version of the M6. Still has the great characteristics of the M6. It's great in high-speed corners, stable, all that kind of stuff, but I would say the two largest things are we have better tire wear and tire life. So over a stint, we can be quite fast the whole time, where the M6 would peak and then have some tire drag. And we have better low-speed corner performance in general, less understeer in low-speed corners. But overall, it still drives like a BMW. It has the BMW DNA, and it's been a great car for us so far.
Okay, one last question. So Turner obviously makes aftermarket BMW parts.
Yep.
Do you know if any of the parts on the M4 GT3 will make it onto the aftermarket for the M4?
It's a great question. I don't believe so, mainly because there's a lot on the GT3 car that's very race car specific. There'll be ideas and there'll be iterations of stuff that's on this car, but I doubt they'll be the same parts. The GT4 car would be a little bit closer to what you could modify your street car to be, but there's definitely engineering thoughts and processes that you'll see carry over to some street car stuff in the years to come.
Okay, thank you, Robby, for your time.
Yep.
And that was Turner here at IMSA 6 Hours of the Glen. So we're here with the Heart of Racing Aston Martin team. Here we have Roman. Which car do you drive again?
I drive the 27.
Nice. So, one of my questions was, obviously there's GT3, GT4 racing has become really, really popular over the past decade. What are the differences between GT4 and GT3 car?
I think a GT4 car is a lot more based off the road car platform, so a lot of things that you'll find in the street car, you'll find in the GT4s. For example, like the Porsche Cayman, it's the road car gear lever, so it's quite similar to a road car, where the GT3 is much more advanced and built solely as a race car, from its beginning purpose. So that's probably the main differences there.
Okay, my other question was, in terms of engines, obviously the road car has a Mercedes-based 4-litre twin-turbo V8. Did Mercedes have any technical input into the engines for the race cars?
The race car is still the twin-turbo V8, so same engine platform as the road car would be, but it's obviously a lot different mappings and tunings and stuff like that, as all the cars pretty much are, to be able to run for 24 hours and to be able to run at the level of performance that they are. So definitely some different components, but the same base.
Okay, well, that was the Heart of Racing Aston Martin team with Roman. Hope you enjoyed my roundup of the IMSA 6 Hours of the Glen. Another shout out to Lexus Racing USA for their hospitality and access to the paddock and pits. If you would like to support this channel, please like, comment, and subscribe.